The following kayak fishing gear has saved my life, has saved my time, and saved me money. I never leave shore without these 10 items. One time when I was on the river trout fishing with my family, they started releasing a ton of water and the river rose rapidly. I mean, like, it was very dangerous to be in swimming wise. And that's why I was so thankful to have my life vest. That's one thing that I harp on as a kayak angler, because like right now, I'm out here alone, and if I was to fall in, God forbid, it's cold, and I've got a lot of clothes on, so I would be soaking wet, and I'd probably sink to the bottom like a rock. So that's why I always wear my life vest, whether it's cold, whether it's warm out, I've got it on for my safety. Another time when I was kayak fishing, I was running around using my trolling motor a lot, and my battery died. Had I not had my paddle with me, I probably would have been screwed, because the wind started picking up and I was struggling just to paddle against the wind to get back to the boat ramp, let alone getting back to shore, and walking back would have been just a nightmare. So even if I have a trolling motor, I always have a paddle. Like today, for instance, I'm on a river and I didn't expect it to be as shallow as it was. So there's been several times when I had to pull my trolling motor up and paddle. If I didn't bring my paddle with me, I would have been screwed and had to cut my trip short today. I also like to kayak fish with my family a lot. And one time we were in a public strip pit. It was me, my dad, and my mom. And I'm fishing along, and all of a sudden I hear my dad yell, "That was my phone!" And he had dropped his phone in the water. Yes, dropped it. And to make things worse, he literally got it the day before. So it was a brand new phone that he just dropped in the water. That's why I always have a harness and a leash attached to me and my phone. If my dad would have had it, it would have saved him over $1,000 that day. Too bad he didn't have it that time. I got him one, and he uses it every time he goes out, just like I do. And if you want to hear a full review of the Koala Hang Time phone harness, I'll leave it linked right here and in the description below for you to check out. I don't know if you've ever lost a fish at the edge of the boat, but it's heartbreaking. It's even worse when it's a big fish. That's why I've started carrying a fishing net with me, and not just any fishing net, the Yaker leverage landing net. Because there was one time that I had the fish at the edge of the boat, dipped down just in time to scoop it as it spit my hook back out, and I was ecstatic because I scooped the fish and it was a biggin', one of my biggest fish of the year that year, and I wouldn't have caught it without that net. So whether I'm bass fishing, cat fishing, or any kind of fishing really, I've got a fishing net with me, specifically the Yaker leverage landing net. And if you want to learn more about this net, I'll leave that video linked right here and in the description below. One of my biggest frustrations with kayak fishing is at the boat ramp when I'm packing and unpacking my kayak, because I can't just leave everything packed up. It weighs too much to put on my trailer. But one thing that has helped me tremendously has been my Yaker Black Pack Pro. I absolutely love this kayak crate. Even though I think it was a little overpriced and I had to put it together myself, it's still been a tremendous time saver and a great organizer, because now I've got all my tackle boxes in there, soft plastics, toilet paper, because you never know when you might need toilet paper, and a few other things that I wouldn't be able to bring along without them being strung out all over my boat otherwise. Speaking of keeping organized, tackle boxes. I don't carry a traditional tackle box that opens from the top with the handle and everything. I like thin, compact ones because I can slide them under my seat. I can stick them in my Black Pack Pro. This is typically like a 3700 is what a lot of companies will call it, but they're just about this thick and about this wide, maybe a little bit bigger. And they fit perfectly in my Black Pack Pro and just keep all my gear organized. Now, obviously, I love fishing. It doesn't matter if it's windy, if it's cold like today, if it's warm, if it's calm, I will try to be on the water. I am itching to get on the water. And one of those days, it was just howling winds. Me and my mom found a small lake that was kind of in a hole where we could go fishing, but the wind was still just swirling and acting really weird. Thankfully, I had a shallow water anchor for her and a spot lock trolling motor on the front of my boat. This allowed us to anchor in the exact spot we needed to stay and just hammer the fish. They were biting that day, but we would not have been able to catch them had we not been able to hold our position. And that's why having an anchor, a shallow water anchor, or a spot lock trolling motor is critical to kayak fishing. Now, I have a New Canoe Unlimited, and it has an extremely comfortable seat, but my butt still gets sore. And thankfully, I found a solution to that. It's the Kayak cushion. It's just about an inch thick of foam. It keeps me comfortable on my long trips. Now on a short trip, I don't need it, but I usually have it, and it doubles as another seat cushion for when I'm riding. So literally every day I'm using this, whether it's in my kayak or it's on my office chair. If you're like me, you don't always catch big fish and you want to take pictures of them, but you don't want to harm them. I've tried holding fish in the water while I fumble around with my phone, but having one hand is just a pain. That's when I discovered the donkey leash. I've used this several times to hold big fish while I got my camera ready, while I got situated, and it's an absolute game changer. It's similar to a stringer, except that it doesn't hurt the fish at all. It just clamps down onto their lip instead of poking through and damaging the fish. So you can clamp it down, stick it back in the water, and the leash is attached to your kayak or attached to you. Let the fish swim around, recoup as you gather your stuff to take the pictures. I absolutely love this product, and it's not that expensive. One of my biggest frustrations with fishing in general, but specifically kayak fishing, is cutting lines. You see, it's hard to break a line if you get hung up when you're in a kayak because you don't have all that weight to pull. You'll pull and it just pulls the kayak to it. I've tried to break my line multiple times, and unless I'm just using really light line, it's a pain in the butt. That's why I started carrying line cutters with me, and I actually have one attached to my kayak. Now, line cutters isn't just your traditional scissors or knife, because a lot of times I've found that some scissors have trouble cutting braid, while others are just too big and bulky to carry around, especially in a small space like a kayak. But line cutters are small, compact. Like I said, you can stick them to your kayak. They have a ring that you can use. They have one that attaches to your hat. There's so many different versions that will fit perfectly into your specific situation. Now you know all the kayak fishing gear you need to get started safely, but you still need to learn how to rig a kayak, how to control a kayak, and even how to pick the right kayak. And you can find that video down below me right now, and I can't wait to see you there.